welcome to the programme where we hope you'll see some faces that you recognise, some places that are familiar and, who knows, some cases that maybe you can thereby help to solve. You can call us on this number about any crime from now until midnight. The detectives here are drawn from police forces right across the country, though you can speak to a BBC researcher if you prefer. They're waiting for your call.
The three serious crimes we've reconstructed this month are an attempted armed robbery at a bank in Derby in which the assistant manager's wife was kidnapped. In South London, 22-year-old photographer Lorraine Benson was murdered after spending the evening with friends at an office Christmas party. And if you recognise a distinctive motorbike stolen in Norfolk, you may provide the vital clue to solving an armed raid on a jeweller shop in Northampton.
Our first full reconstruction this month is of one of the most frightening crimes, abduction. Now, mercifully, of course, it's most unusual, but last November, in fact on the last day of November, Wednesday the 30th, it happened to a family in Derbyshire. The victim was Pauline Guest, whose husband, Bob, is an assistant manager at a bank in the Alveston district of Derby. Our story starts in the East Midlands some 2 months before the crime, as preparations for the kidnapping were being set in train.
Hello?
Hello. I'm interested in buying the Gold Avenger advertised this week.
Pleased to have found a buyer, the Avenger's owner agreed to meet the caller next morning on her way to work.
Hello. Don't get out.
Hello?
Yeah, looks all right to me. I'll give you the full amount.
Really? Well, that's great. Actually, there are one or two things I should tell you about. And,
That's all right. I only need it for one job.
Oh,
Here you
okay.
are.
A man of the same description made two other equally quick buys, a motorbike from Huntington and a white van from Kings Winford. None of the three vehicles turned up till 1 month later. This is the Stocker Flats estate in Alveston in Derby. In mid-November, residents here remember seeing a Bedford van.
Right to bottom that van.
That same resident noticed the white van behind him as he was driving home a few days later. As he pulled into the estate, the van followed. While he reversed, he was curious to see who'd been parking the van here all that week, and he clearly remembers that getting out of the passenger door was a woman followed by a man. Neither of them has since been traced. 10 miles away in Ripley, the Gold Avenger was seen several times outside the home of the assistant bank manager. The last day of November, back in Alveston. Just off Alveston Street is Green Lane. It narrows to a footpath. It's less than a mile from the National Westminster Bank.
The news at 8 o'clock on Wednesday, the 30th of November. Good morning.
I'm off now, love.
Oh, lovely.
See you about 6-ish. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bob Guest arrived for work 10 miles away at about 9 o'clock.
Milder with rain later. I think that means wet. Good morning.
There you are, Vivian. You're Scottish. Here's one for you.
Great.
Can I help you?
I'm the plumber.
Oh, no, we don't need a plumber.
Oh, must have the wrong house. I'll check. Don't scream this out! Now get in the house! Shut up!
Please, don't hurt me!
I won't. I'm putting these on so you can't see my face anymore. I won't hurt you. Down, sit down. Let's go.
He drove the 10 miles back to Derby and to the top of Green Lane, where the motorbike was ready. He parked at Grimshaw Avenue.
Remember to say, 3 men have got you, and he's got 4 minutes.
14027. That's right.
Hello. Hello, Pauline.
You've got to do as I say. You've got to...
What is it? What's going on?
3 men came to the house.
What?
You've got to put all the money from the bank into a bag
Into a...
and put it in your car
Yeah.
and leave
What?
the engine running. And you've got to do it in
Pauline.
4 minutes, Bob, because the police can get
4
there in
minutes?
6 minutes, he says.
Pauline!
Please, Bob, please do it.
Pauline? It's my wife, Pauline. She's been kidnapped.
Just stay here. Don't move. I've got a man with a gun at the top of the lane. I'm going to get the money.
Here's another one.
Thank you. 7, 8. Yes, there were 3 men. 3.
The manager alerted the security department and the police, but after 10 minutes, the money still wasn't ready. The robber forced Pauline to call her husband once again.
Please, Bob, please, you've got to do it now. I don't know what he'll do.
The lying bastard! He's called the bloody police! They've had plenty of time to get the money there. The bank has bloody set me up. If I go for the money now, the police will be there. Your husband can't care for you that much. I'd have had the money ready.
Will I be released?
Yeah, in 15 minutes.
The robber made off empty-handed. Pauline eventually struggled free. Jeff Brewster, although Mrs. Guest obviously didn't get much of a chance to see him once he'd put those goggles on her, she did get a glimpse of him, and so did other people who'd sold him vehicles.
That's right, yes. The man that we look for is described as being about 5'9" tall, a proportionate build with sandy-coloured hair.
OK, now that video fit we've got to be a bit careful of, because that, of course, was built up from several different people's views of him.
That's right.
Tell us about the car, the Hillman Avenger. He bought it legitimately. That was sort of the end of October. Then the crime took place the end of November. It wasn't discovered then for another month, just before Christmas.
No, it was discovered Christmas Eve, the Avenger was abandoned in Stafford. And the unusual thing about this Hillman Avenger is that in the back window it has some stickers, and one of the stickers is upside down.
Right, NBF 944P, nothing very distinctive about that number plate, but did you see that car with the upside-down sticker in the back window? What about the white Bedford van?
Yes, we know the Bedford van has been in the Alveston area of Derby, and we have a positive sighting of it at the Stocker Flats area.
It's definitely that van, you think?
We're pretty certain that that is the van.
OK, of course, if it's not, if you had a white Bedford van parked around that time in November at the Stocker Flats estate, for heaven's sake, do call us. The registration number of that van is WWD389X. Why would people remember that? Obviously not through the registration number.
The van at some time had the motorcycle in the back, and also the driver's door of that van was prone to jamming, and the passengers and driver all got out the same door, the passenger door.
Ah, which is why we saw the woman get out
That's
with
right,
the
yes,
driver.
yes.
Again, you need to trace that woman.
We do, yes.
She, of course, might be nothing to do with the crime, in which case it would do her well to get...
We'd certainly like to eliminate her, yes.
OK, fine. Now, tell us why you want to find a door, a household hardwood 6-panel door. What on earth's that got to do with the story?
Now, we've recovered a door from the van, and this has obviously been used as the ramp to get the motorcycle in and out of the van.
Right.
Now, the thing about the door is that on one side, it's got a lot of cut marks, as though it's been used perhaps for cutting carpets or lino or something like that on.
OK, so if anyone recognises that, would they call us as a reward on this? It's a pretty unpleasant crime, of course, and the man had a firearm.
That's right, yes. There's a reward of up to £10,000.
Good. OK, well, if you want to help claim that reward or want to help solve this crime, here's the number. 01811 8055. That's 01811 8055. Alternatively, you can call your local incident room, the local incident room, 0332 290 100. That's 0332, the code for Derby, 290 100.
Now, before we move on with tonight's cases, a look back at the results of the crimes we reconstructed last month. On the murder of Blackpool pensioner Harry Howell, police have a number of new leads to follow up, both on Harrow's watch and on the man in the baker's shop. Police investigating the murder of the minicab driver whose taxi was found abandoned in Folkestone on Guy Fawkes night also report a good response from Crimewatch viewers. At least 3 new witnesses have come forward, and forensic experts have now managed to obtain the offender's fingerprints using new laser techniques. So the investigation does seem to be making progress.
Also last month we appealed for sightings of a husband and wife whom several police forces were anxious to question. On the Friday evening after Crimewatch, a viewer from Ainsdale in Merseyside thought she'd spotted them in Southport and she called the police. A few minutes later, the police approached a couple as they were eating dinner together in a restaurant. A man has since been charged with 2 offences of obtaining by deception a total of about £65,000.
And that was one of last month's photo call cases. Now we have 4 more pictures of people police are hoping to interview in connection with crimes around the country. Here once again is Superintendent David Hatcher.
In our first case tonight, we'd like to speak to this man, Brendan Madden. Until last April, he was the manager of a residential home in Bedford. He may have information about a series of frauds at the home. Staff and residents there were conned out of cash totalling over £12,000. Madden is 39 years old, 5 foot 10 inches tall and slim. Call us now if you know where he is. Next, we need your help to find a particularly violent robber. On Monday the 23rd of January, there was a robbery at a building society on Commercial Road in London's East End. The robber, on the left, grabbed a customer and held him hostage at gunpoint while a cashier pushed money into a bag. A demand note left behind in the building society was written on Zenith car hire paper. A man went into Zenith car hire and took away a piece of paper half an hour before the robbery. He may be able to provide us with useful information about the crime. The robber is about 6 foot 1 inches tall, slim and softly spoken. If you've seen him, please get in touch. And do you recognise this man? His name is David Kingsley Evans, and he used to live near Gorsynon in Swansea. We think he might have information about a £200,000 insurance fraud. Between March and December 1986, several insurance companies received false proposals from a company called Bar West Finance Limited in Swansea. That company is no longer trading, but the £200,000 it received is still outstanding. David Evans is 35, over 6 foot tall, with a pockmarked face and short brown hair. If you've seen him, we'd like to hear from you. My colleagues in Burnley want to talk to this man about a series of deceptions carried out in Lancashire and the surrounding region. On 4 occasions, a man has offered valuable gold chains for sale. His victims handed over their money and later discovered that he'd slipped them worthless imitations. Since he first struck at a cafe in Burnley last October, the conman has netted nearly £3,000. He's pulled the same trick twice in West Yorkshire and in January this year at Hull on Humberside. The man we want to speak to is aged 35 to 50, 5 foot 10 inches tall with numerous facial scars, including a burn scar running from the corner of his mouth to the base of his neck. He speaks with an Italian or Yugoslavian accent. Call us now if you know his whereabouts.
The number to call for any of those faces is 01811 8055. That's 01811 8055.
Our next case is one you may have read about in the newspapers just before Christmas. Shortly after midnight on Monday the 19th of December, 22-year-old photographer Lorraine Benson was murdered after spending the evening at a staff Christmas party in Clapham in South London. The tragedy is the greater because shortly before she was killed, several witnesses saw or heard things that made them suspicious, but they weren't sure enough to call the police. It's a message to all of us. If any of us sees or hears something that worries us, always notify the police. They really won't think you're wasting their time. Because there are so many clues and sightings of Lorraine that night, there's a better than usual chance that Crimewatch viewers may be able to help identify the killer. Our reconstruction begins to the south of London in Croydon, where Lorraine had been working as a photographer.
Just keep nice and still. A nice big smile for Mum. Come on.
Lorraine worked for a company called Pastel Portraits, which specialises in taking family portraits in department stores. Over the Christmas period, she was based at the Children's World store in Croydon.
And smile. Right? Lovely. Hang on.
Lorraine had a special way with children. She was good at her job and determined to do well.
Beautiful.
When Lorraine left work at 5:30 that Monday evening, she was carrying a carrier bag and a blue holdall with a change of clothes in it. She probably went by train to Clapham Junction. Perhaps you saw her. She'd been invited to a staff Christmas party at the Arding and Hobbs department store in Clapham, where she used to work. She changed out of her work clothes somewhere en route, but the blue holdall has so far not been found. Lorraine was due to go back to work at Arding and Hobbs just after Christmas. She was looking forward to it and seemed to enjoy the party, meeting old friends again. Seven miles away, Sarah Patterson was leaving Rains Park station on her way home.
Well, I'd been out for the night with some friends to the cinema, and I arrived back on the train from Waterloo at about 11:40. I came onto the tunnel, across the road, and began to walk down Coombe Lane.
Can I walk you home? What's your name? Oh, sorry, I'm Jeff.
I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
The man followed Sarah as she turned into Durham Road. She remembers he was well-spoken and had a nervous laugh. He told her he'd just lost his job in the city.
I used to work for Morgan Grenville.
Sarah crossed the road and the man followed no further.
Bye.
Will you go out with me, Sarah?
At about the same time, Lorraine and her friends were leaving the party in Clapham. Lorraine asked two of her friends to walk her to the station. The train for Rains Park was the 11:36 from Waterloo to Chessington South. It arrived at Clapham Junction at 11:44. George Holdsworth had just left the same party. He was looking for a smoking carriage. George and Lorraine had worked together at Arding and Hobbs.
Take care.
What are you doing on this train then?
I'm going to see my mates. Staying the night in his place.
Oh, really? What's that for?
He's gone off to Australia tomorrow, so I'm going down the airport to see him off.
The train arrived at Rains Park at 11:53. George remembers the station was almost empty. As they walked out of the station, Lorraine told George she had to ring her friend to ask him to meet her. So George left her at the phone box.
All right, take care then.
Yeah, and you. Happy Christmas.
Bye.
Hello, Lottie. It's Lorraine. Look, I'm down at the station. Can you ask Peter to come down and meet me?
Yeah, I'm sorry, love. He's not back yet.
Oh, it's all right. It doesn't matter. Look, I'll start walking up on my own. See you later.
Lorraine was never to get there. But several people did see her as she headed down Coombe Lane towards the A3. These skateboarders and this minicab driver were about half a mile further down Coombe Lane and near the road Lorraine was heading for. As the cab driver drove round the Cops Hill roundabout, he saw a man standing on the corner. The man seemed anxious to hide his face. Back near the station, bus driver Brian Laverick was coming to the end of his route.
I come out of Rains Park and turn right about 12:10 at night. I was empty, out of service, no lights on the bus whatsoever. I was travelling along Coombe Lane towards Kingston. Then I noticed a girl walking in a white man. She was walking alone, she was on her own.
Joseph Cottrell lives halfway down Coombe Lane. Something about that angry shout worried him, and without stopping to put his shoes on, he went outside to investigate. He crossed the road and watched for some time what he thought was perhaps a couple making up after an argument. But he still felt uneasy. He put on his shoes to go out again. Now the street was empty. Alan Fuentes is a Hackney cab driver.
I got to Cambridge Road and I see this couple. The young lady was just standing there, like, facing outwards, and the fella was waving his arms about like they were arguing. But they didn't show out, so I just carried on, sort of thing, and that was it.
And one last disturbing sighting. A couple were driving home past the Cops Hill roundabout.
Do you think she's all right?
Yeah, she's probably drunk.
At about midnight, Jason and Nathan Cook were still skateboarding opposite Cambridge Road.
Jason, did you hear that?
The scream seemed to come from the direction of the allotments. Next morning, police found Lorraine's body near a path that runs alongside these allotments. She'd been strangled. Well, Detective Superintendent David Fielding is in charge of this case. Just to get it absolutely clear to start with, was Lorraine the sort of girl to go off with somebody?
She certainly wouldn't. Lorraine put up a tremendous fight. Her honour was very important to her, and of course she paid the ultimate price. She lost her life. And I feel that someone certainly knows who killed Lorraine, and I asked them to think about it, call us tonight.
The sad thing is that the whole story is full of if-onlys. So many people saw Lorraine in circumstances that concerned them but didn't do anything about it.
Well, Lorraine telephoned home, spoke to her father at about 8:30 that night to say that she wouldn't be home that night. She arrived at Rains Park Station hoping to be met and then would walk along to her ultimate destination. Unfortunately, her friend wasn't there to meet her. After that, she made a telephone call and then she walked down this very wide, brightly lit road facing the oncoming traffic, so she minimised the risks. Yes.
We've seen the sightings that those witnesses saw. What are the gaps now in what you know about Lorraine's walk down Coombe Lane?
Well, we know about the confrontation that she had about half a mile down, but I'm certain that other people in that area saw something suspicious. They may have seen Lorraine either on her own or being followed down the road or arguing with this man who we've seen on the video. And also, it's possible that someone else has seen this character who turned his back on the cab driver at the roundabout. And we want to know who he is and who is the man arguing with Lorraine.
Yes, anybody should come forward. They might have this vital piece of information that might trace this man. There's his description there. He's 6 foot tall, thin, hollow-cheeked, unshaven, dark collar-length, scruffy hair, well-spoken, and he calls himself Jeff. Do you think Jeff and the suspect could be the same man?
It's possible. But someone must know who Jeff is, and I would ask them, come and see us. We've got to speak to him, perhaps to eliminate him.
There's one more sighting which could be vital and took place 2 days before the murder on Saturday the 17th of December. A woman was cycling home down the pathway where Lorraine's body was found, and she remembers seeing a man who looked like a tramp and tending a fire. He stepped into her path and forced her to swerve. So again, that tramp could be, again, the same man as Jeff and the suspect you're looking for who was seen Lorraine.
Could be. We certainly want to know who the tramp is and who Jeff is, yes.
Well, finally, we still haven't found a belt that Lorraine was wearing that night. That could provide a clue if somebody could find that.
It's the one item or accessories that is missing, and we certainly want to find it. It's possible that it's been thrown away or hidden even. So, yes, anyone who got any information about that, please come and see us.
If you recognise that or if you can help in any way, I know that the local people feel so strongly about this, they've got together to put up a reward to find whoever killed Lorraine. The number to the studio here is 018118055, or the direct line to the incident room at Wimbledon Police Station is 01541 1212. That's 01541 1212. If you know anything at all that might help, please do ring.
Now some more news on cases we've covered in the past, and one disturbingly similar. Back in reconstructed events leading up to the murder of Suzanne Greenhill, a young deaf woman who was found dead in her flat in Wales. Crimewatch viewers provided many new leads on this case. It wasn't as a direct result of the programme, but last week a man was arrested and has been charged with Suzanne's murder.
One of last month's photocall cases was an armed robbery on a building society in Kilburn in northwest London just before Christmas. We showed pictures of a robber caught on a security camera, and as a result of viewers' calls, 2 men have now been arrested and charged with a total of 10 robberies, all in the London area.
Well, now, Aladdin's Cave. Last month, several viewers leapt to call us when they recognised their belongings on the screen. Among them, someone from Henley-on-Thames identified some figurines, and a viewer in Harrogate identified 2 vases and some jewellery. As a result, 2 men have been charged with burglaries. Let's see what happens this month to pick out the best and the most unusual pieces. Here's John Bly.
Thank you, Nick. Well, I think I'd rather start with this helmet, actually. The chainmail here is a little bad condition, but the rest of it is quite superb. The state of preservation is wonderful. It's an important item, and I think from originally, now missing from, an important collection. A little more domestic, we've got a little tea caddy. Now, this is a little box made of rosewood, around about 1830. But what is magic to me, you see these 2 marks here, these 2 rings. That is where somebody over the years has opened the box like that. For the last, goodness knows how many years it's taken to get that sort of patina. That's quite magic and unique, so that should ring a bell with somebody. Now on to some silver. This pot was made by Robert Hennell in 1812. It's a very good example of the period, but later inscribed, as was their wont. But the inscription itself is charming. This is one from Rosetta Salomons, Thea Levy, Michael Emanuel, and Henry Emanuel, in response of the services rendered by Sarah Impey to their dear mother during her last illness, March 1836. Isn't that charming? Let's hope it reminds somebody in the Impey family or the Emanuel family of where that might have been for the last 50 years. Now we've got a 2-handled cup in the sort of style of the 1890s to 1920s, and that's when this was made and presented by the Wirral Hunt Races. This is the Farmers' Race Cup, 1921, won by Mr. M.B. Hassels on a horse called Jupiter. Now to my favourite type of engraving and inscriptions. This is where a group of chums get together and have their autographs engraved around the recipient's initials. And this is probably everybody at the yacht club or down at the golf club. And Mr. J.C.H. received this little tray from his friends on the 25th of the 6th, 1948. Not really an antique, but a very important, nice little thing. At the front, we've got some good quality porcelain figures. Those 2 aren't terribly old, but they're Meissen, they're hard-paste porcelain, and they're in the 18th century style. The 18th century, we've got this portrait, a rather stern-looking gentleman, an oil on canvas, and over here we've got some little portraits in miniature. Now, these are miniatures which are very collectible today. This group, unfortunately, are commercial reproductions. Those of no real value. But here, right at the end, there's one of the most beautiful ladies. She's about 1840, 1845, in her original frame, and above her, a gentleman about 1820 with a blue coat on, and he's got a marvellous twinkle in his eye. I like him very much. And to end with, we've got a Bible, silver-backed and silver front, and inside, yet another magic inscription from to Marjorie Turner, The Red House, from Grandma, Christmas 1918. And I hope that jogs a memory somewhere.
And if you think any of those things could be yours, give us a call, 01811 8055, or you can ring the police station at Bexhill in Sussex on 0424 213 630. That's 0424, the code for Bexhill, 213 630.
If you remember on Photo Call, we showed a picture of a man who was thought to be a con man. He had facial scars and thought to be the person who'd passed off some jewellery as gold. In fact, it was worthless. We've now had 4 callers who've rung giving the same name, and police are working on those tip-offs right now. We move now to this month's incident desk, some short appeals on crimes from around the country. How the Pope's gift of a ring was stolen from the Cardinal of all England. A distinctive tie that might help trace a gunman who raped a woman and left her for dead. The small train robbery, how precious steam engines were stolen from their miniature depot. And the smoke that vanished into thin air. How a convoy of cigarettes was hijacked on the open road. Here's Superintendent David Hatcher.
First, we're looking for a man who carried out a vicious rape and attempted murder. A woman was attacked in the early hours of December the 21st at Swanscombe outside Gravesend in Kent by a man with a black air pistol and a double-bladed Bowie-type knife. He took her to a nearby quarry where he raped, stabbed and tried to strangle her. She was in intensive care for a week, but thankfully is now making a satisfactory recovery. We think her attacker left behind this tie. It's dark blue and covered in red, yellow and white crests. It's a 1980 to 1982 school tie from the Downs Comprehensive School in Dartford, which is 7 miles away. This one has been restitched by hand at the back, and it goes all the way up here. A name tag might have been ripped from here, and a small piece is missing from one end of it. Do you recognise it? The man we're hunting is white, aged about 20, 5'7" to 6 feet tall, with round chubby face and fair to blonde hair. He was wearing a dark padded anorak with yellow and red tucks on the shoulders and black gloves with red padding on the backs. The same man may be responsible for indecently assaulting a woman just last Saturday afternoon at Darrentswood Lane near Dartford. The description here is 20 to 25 years old, 5'10", with short fairish hair. He wore a brown cloth bomber jacket and jeans and told the victim he came from nearby Swanley. Please ring us if you recognise him or know about either attack. Next, the hijack of a lorry carrying over £300,000 worth of cigarettes and tobacco products. Just before 7 a.m. on Friday the 2nd of December, a lorry like this was driving down 7 Mile Lane near Westmoreling in Kent. It had been in convoy with another lorry, but it had become separated. It was forced to a halt by a yellow BT van, registration A416TYX, which had been stolen from Orpington just 2 weeks previously. The driver and his lorry were taken to this empty warehouse in New Hythe Lane, Larkfield. Inside the warehouse, police found the abandoned telecom van and empty lorry. I think the thieves must have unloaded the contents into another vehicle of similar size. The driver, who was roughly treated, describes at least 2 men who were black, clean-shaven and in their mid-20s. One, he says, was 5'8" tall and had a round face, and the other was 6'2" and well-built. If you've any information, please get in touch. There's a reward of up to £30,000 being offered. Next, we need your help to find 3 gold rings which belong to the head of the Roman Catholic Church in England, Cardinal Basil Hume, who's seen here wearing one of them. They were taken from his residence, Archbishop's House in Victoria. Apart from their financial value, the rings are of considerable religious significance. One of them was presented to Cardinal Hume by Pope Paul VI, and is one of only 19 in the world. It's 18-carat Italian gold and shows Christ holding a lamb and shepherd's crook. The papal seal is clearly marked on the back above the letters MACRI. The second missing ring is similar to this one. It's also 18-carat gold and has a large amethyst stone and a solid band at the back. There are no papal markings on the one that was stolen. The third ring is also gold and has a green stone with red veins. That's known as a bloodstone. We'd like to hear from you if you've been seen or been offered any of them. Now, I'm sure these will bring back a few childhood memories, but these are locomotives with a difference. They are rare, expensive, and identical to one stolen during a burglary in Colwyn Bay, North Wales last November. This one, rolling in now, is a replica of an Argentine state railway locomotive made by Lehmann of Germany. as were these other two. This one represents the Hirado State Railway of Colombia, and this one, the Indian State Railway. Now they're valued at between £3,500 and £4,500 each, while this steam locomotive is an OS Porter Mogul. It's valued at £3,000. But lastly, the pièce de résistance is this Astor's electric model of the world's largest locomotive, and it's called the Big Boy. There are only 30 models in existence. This one was lent to us by London Toy and Model Museum, and each of those is worth £10,000. Their size and rarity make all the locomotives particularly distinctive. So if you know the whereabouts of those stolen engines, call us now.
Indeed, if you have information to add on any of those incident desk cases, please do ring us on 01 811 8055.
Well, next, an armed raid on a jeweller's shop in Northampton, which happened at the end of November. Two bystanders tried unsuccessfully to foil the attack. Thankfully, neither of them was hurt, but police are worried because the robbers seemed pretty unpredictable. Our reconstruction begins 6 days earlier near Downham Market in Norfolk. David Roberts lives in open countryside in the heart of the Norfolk Fens. His home is Eel Pie Cottages, a remote terrace of 5 houses surrounded by fields. Before he went to bed, David brought his motorbike, his pride and joy, into the conservatory for safekeeping. It's a most unusual Yamaha, a 350 XT off-road bike that's only been available since August. At 10:20 at the other end of the terrace, Martin Watkins was watching television when he heard a vehicle coming down the lane. It's unusual for cars to be down here. Only visitors to the Watkins household come to the end of the lane. So Martin was curious. He noticed it was A, registered, a hatchback, and, to use his own phrase, blood red. 10 minutes later, the car was back. Martin noticed a VW badge, but the driver clearly didn't want to be identified. He used his indicator to see his way out of the lane. Sometime that night, David Roberts' bike was stolen. Northampton, 100 miles from Downham Market. It's 6 days later, Wednesday, the 30th of November. PC Cliff Wilkins was on mobile patrol. As he pulled up at traffic lights in Abington Square, he spotted 2 men on a motorbike and began to take the number. He planned to stop the bike for a license check, but soon he lost it in the traffic. Later, as PC Wilkins was parked opposite Gold Street, writing up reports, he saw the same bike. This is Michael Jones Jewellers on the corner of Bridge Street and Gold Street. Staff were taking the most valuable items out of the window displays for the night.
Hey, get down! Stay down!
Get down, Sam!
You're not having that, Sonny?
Don't be stupid!
This young passerby tried to have a go at them. The robbers, still brandishing the shotgun, rode off through the rush hour traffic down the main shopping street. This is a mile away, Lawrence Court, on the north side of Northampton, where the robbers abandoned the bike. Just around the corner at 5:30, James Adams was ferrying books and files to his car, which was parked in Deal Street. Having dropped off his first load, he headed back for more.
Where the hell have you been? I've been waiting here for ages.
He remembers the car was a red hatchback, possibly a Metro, possibly a VW Golf. Well, Smile, let's come back to that car in a moment. It's the motorbike that's intriguing, because I gather that XT350 was so rare that any biker who'd seen it is likely to have remembered it.
Yes, it is a very distinctive model, and as you've heard on the film, at that time it was considered to be quite a rare model. Now, I'm desperate to find out where that motorcycle was in the 5 days between it being stolen and being used on the robbery in Northampton.
So if anybody saw a black Yamaha of that sort, a XT350 trials bike, we'd like them to call us. Anytime, the 6 days up to the end of November, really?
Absolutely. It must have been stored somewhere in that 5 days.
Now, why was it stolen from this place near Downham Market? I think even locals will accept it being called the back of beyond, this particular area, because it's really very difficult to find.
I'm absolutely baffled as to why anybody would go to such a remote area and go to such lengths to steal a motorcycle and then use that motorcycle 100 miles away in Northampton. I'm totally baffled on that one.
Now, let's come back to the cars. There were 2 red cars. One, of course, was seen where the bike was stolen. Tell us about that one. That's, we think, a Passat, we said.
That's right. We believe it to be a blood red, A-registered Passat.
OK, and the other one, which was seen in Northampton, also red, but could have been a Metro, could have been a Golf?
We're not sure on that one. It could be a red Metro or it could be a red Golf, but we're fairly happy that it's red and fairly happy that it's a hatchback. Right,
there must be somebody watching who knows who did this. There was a sawn-off shotgun involved. They're not pleasant characters. They were described as pretty unpredictable, and there's a reward.
Yes, there's a substantial reward which is available for information which leads to the arrest, conviction and to the recovery of this property. OK, well, thank you.
The number here is 018118055 if you can help, or you can ring Northampton Police. That's 0604 700 700. Ask for the incident room. It's an easy number to remember. 0604 is the code for Northampton, 700 700.
Well, we're getting quite a lot of calls coming in. In our photo call, we asked for news on the whereabouts of somebody called David Evans, who was wanted in connection with a big insurance fraud. 2 callers have rung in to say they know him personally. One says he's gone to Spain, but the other person has given a UK name and address for him. So that's being followed up. On Lorraine Benson, a caller says he or she saw a man fitting the description of the tramp the day after Lorraine was killed. This lead is now being followed up. And another caller believes that they know the mystery man called Jeff and has given a telephone number to police. So again, those are being followed up. Brendan Madden, another one from our photo call cases. A caller has given a current address for him and police are on their way. He's wanted in connection with conning people out of money. And Gravesend, the attempted murder there. One person claims to know the person and the police are finding him too. They think they know who used the tie, so that's being followed up. That's just about it from us for today at the moment. We're going to have more news on Crimewatch Update later. That's on BBC One at 11:15, right after question time. If there are developments overnight, you can hear about those on Open Air at 11:30 tomorrow morning. Calls are going to be coming in here until midnight, so if you have any information, please do ring. You'll find all the local numbers on CFAX, page 186 if you have that, or you can write to us if you prefer at Crimewatch UK, BBC TV, London W12 7RJ.
And there's some news just coming in about the Derby abduction. More of that on Update. You don't have to call yourself a guardian angel to help cut crime. Anyone can do it simply by helping the police. Hundreds are doing it right now. Do join us next month. If you can't stay up for Crimewatch Update, don't have nightmares. Do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.